The studio was already humming with its usual orchestra of moving parts long before the audience filed into their seats, camera operators adjusting lenses, floor managers calling cues over headsets, makeup artists making their final touches on the hosts as the bright lights warmed the stage. On most days, everything fell into place with smooth precision. But today, beneath the gloss, there was a faint but unmistakable tension, an alertness in the air, like the crew collectively sensed that something unpredictable was brewing. The guest of the hour, acclaimed filmmaker Ron Howard, arrived with his characteristic friendliness, greeting crew members with small nods and warm smiles. He wasn't the type to show nerves, and he wasn't showing them now. He carried himself with a calm steadiness, hands tucked casually into his pockets, eyes scanning the studio with quiet curiosity. He'd been in countless interviews over decades, and he had weathered every kind of question imaginable. Today was just another appearance, or so he thought. Meanwhile, at the opposite side of the stage, longtime host Joy Behar sat reviewing her cards. She wasn't stressed. Joy didn't do stressed. But she was focused, reading and rereading the notes the producers had compiled. Joy had an interview style that was both admired and feared, sharp, probing, unafraid of friction. And the producers were very aware that bringing Ron onto The View meant merging two strong personalities in front of a live audience. Normally, that tension created great television. But today, something felt heightened. A producer leaned toward Joy cautiously. "Just, keep it balanced," he murmured. "We want honest discussion, but not a meltdown." Joy waved him off. "Relax. Ron's a grown man. He can handle questions. We're not tossing him into a shark tank." The producer didn't say it out loud, but he thought, this show is always a shark tank. 5 minutes before air, Ron took his place in the wings. From where he stood, he could hear the crowd's eager buzz as audience coordinators got them warmed up, instructing them when to cheer, when to applaud, and when to settle. Ron rubbed his palms together, not nervously, just to shake off the chill of the backstage area. Someone clipped a microphone pack onto his belt. Another straightened his collar. He thanked each of them softly, humanly. He was ready. Joy glanced at the monitors showing Ron backstage and sighed, as if bracing for an unpredictable storm she wasn't convinced would stay contained. Yet she wasn't hostile, just determined. She had a point she wanted to explore, and she wasn't the type to tiptoe around it. When the floor manager called, "Going live in 5, 4, 3, the studio shifted into showtime mode. Applause erupted. Cameras glided smoothly across the stage. The hosts smiled widely at one another and at the audience. And Ron stepped out, greeted by a wave of enthusiasm. The co-hosts embraced him like an old friend. Even Joy smiled, though hers was edged with intent. The opening segment flowed easily. Ron spoke about his new film, its themes, its production challenges, the performances he was proud of. Joy asked a few lighter questions, even laughed once or twice, though the laughter landed just a little too quickly, a little too politely. Ron didn't notice immediately, but the other co-hosts did. Then, only 10 minutes in, Joy subtly steered her chair toward him. Her smile dimmed into something sharper, still polite, but sharpened at the edges. "So, Ron," she began, tapping her cards with one finger, "your new film touches on topics people are debating fiercely right now. And you've said in past interviews that you prefer to keep your personal politics private." She used air quotes. "Do you still feel that way?" Ron blinked. He had expected a question in that direction, but not this early, not this pointed. Still, he gave his usual gentle smile. "I do. I think the work speaks for itself. My job isn't to lecture people but to tell stories." "But stories are political," Joy countered quickly. "Choosing to stay neutral is a political choice, whether you admit it or not." The audience reacted with a collective murmur. A few leaned forward in their seats, others tensed. The co-hosts exchanged knowing glances. Ron shifted, folding his hands on the table. I'm not sure I agree with that. Telling a story with empathy and nuance doesn't require me to broadcast personal positions in interviews. Joy's voice sharpened, just slightly. But when millions of people follow your work, choosing not to comment sends a message. People want clarity, especially from leaders in the industry. Ron let out a small breath. And I respect that. But I also think people are too quick to demand labels. I'm not here to be a political brand. Joy leaned even farther in. Maybe you don't want to be one. But whether you like it or not, you are one. That struck something in Ron's expression, a brief flash of irritation, unusual for him. Joy, with respect, I think you're oversimplifying things. Am I? She asked, raising her eyebrows. Or are you sidestepping? Ron's smile finally faded. Not dramatically, but noticeably. He sat back. I came here to discuss my film, not to be cornered into making public declarations about issues that deserve thoughtful, private reflection. Joy shrugged casually. We're just having a conversation. It doesn't feel like a conversation, Ron replied. It feels like an interrogation. The studio rippled with gasps and uneasy laughter. The crew members stiffened. A producer took 2 quick steps forward, whispering into her headset with a mix of urgency and dread. Joy lowered her voice, but her tone was still cutting. If asking you to clarify your stance is an interrogation, then maybe you're being a little sensitive. Ron's jaw tightened, a small, almost imperceptible movement, but one that his longtime fans would instantly recognize. The quiet, steady director rarely showed irritation publicly, but now it was unmistakable. Saying I'm being sensitive is dismissive, he said slowly. You're pushing me into a corner for not giving you a headline. Joy blinked, then smiled faintly. I'm pushing you to be honest. I am honest, Ron said, voice firmer now. But honesty doesn't mean shouting my personal politics every time a microphone is in front of me. The tension thickened like humidity before a thunderstorm. The set lights seemed too bright. The air seemed too still. A co-host shifted uncomfortably, ready to intervene, but uncertain how. Joy crossed her arms. So you admit you're choosing not to speak? I admit, Ron said, that I won't be pressured into saying something I don't want to say on live television. The moment the cameras cut to commercial, the studio plunged into controlled chaos. Producers rushed onto the stage like firefighters running toward smoke. Stage managers barked updates through headsets. Audience coordinators leaned over the bleachers trying to keep the crowd calm, offering reassuring smiles they didn't feel. Some audience members whispered excitedly, others craned their necks, hoping to catch a glimpse of Ron Howard through the parted curtains he'd disappeared behind. At the table, Joy Behar shuffled her note cards with stiff, mechanical movements. She didn't look furious, joy rarely combusted outwardly. But the tightness in her jaw, the way she tapped the same card over and over with her manicured nail, signaled she was somewhere between annoyed and stunned. Joy didn't get blindsided often. She was used to pushing people, challenging people, sometimes even poking the bear, but she wasn't used to the bear walking off live television. Joy, whispered one of the co-hosts, leaning closer, are you okay? Joy inhaled slowly, keeping her eyes on the table. I'm fine, she said curtly. It's live TV. People get emotional. That wasn't emotional, another co-host murmured. That was something else. Joy chose not to answer. A senior producer hurried over with a clipboard. We have to pivot for the next segment, he said, lowering his voice even though the nearby crew members were already listening. Ron's not coming back. No surprise there, Joy muttered. We'll reintroduce the next topic after the break, the producer continued. Keep it smooth. Calm. No references unless the network approves a statement later. Joy straightened in her seat, smoothing her blue blazer. I know how to do my job, she said, a little more sharply than intended.